Hi guys, Sarah from Totally here, and I've got another real student exemplar from my masterclass looking at descriptive writing today. If you watched my last video, then you'll also have seen another description that was inspired by the prompt underwater. So today we've got another underwater description, so you can compare how the two different students approach the same prompt. This is a description written by LS, one of my masterclass students. And if you would like to join one of my masterclasses like LS did, then these are all the links that you guys need. So I've got a First Language English masterclass coming up in August and one in February 2026. Those are 2-month intensive masterclasses, live lessons with me, weekly marking by me. My events calendar for all of my events is right here. So I'm doing different masterclasses. I'm going to do some literature ones, I think. Comment in the comments which literature text you guys would like me to do. I know that commonly studied ones are Midsummer, Mockingbird, Things Fall Apart, Antony and Cleopatra, etc. So let me know what you'd like me to do. Don't forget that you can find free courses on my website, and I have got a premium writing course that's out soon. Or now, maybe, depending on when I uploaded this video. But yeah, there's loads and loads of free content on my website. To be honest, like pretty much most of it is free at this point because I never have time to make anything because I'm tutoring so much. But you can find a ton of free stuff on there. So do check out my website. That's totally.co.uk. Everything on there is made by me, qualified teacher and examiner. Okay, now that I'm done with the advertisement, shall we get on to the students' writing? So you'll have seen this before in my last video when we looked at PL's description for underwater. But do remind yourself that descriptions are different from narratives because they are like a Harry Potter photograph. They are basically still, but they can have some movement and nothing should happen except for observation. Whereas a narrative will have a plot, climax, dialogue and characterization. A description will not. So we are looking at a description also inspired by the prompt underwater, but the student did interpret it a little bit differently. Don't forget that this is how you are marked. So 2 marks, 1 for content and structure, 1 for style and accuracy. If you want to hear me talk about the mark scheme in more detail, do watch my last student exemplar description video. All right, so let's have a look at the student's work and you guys can see my marking. So if you're curious what style of feedback you'll get, there you go. This is the kind of thing that I do for my masterclass students. Maybe let's zoom in a little. Underwater. The sun shone down upon the cerulean sea and pierced the roof of the ocean, casting a bright white glow onto the shallow ocean floor, ever brightening the radiant neon colours of the dense coral that blanketed the sand underneath, only growing sparse to allow kelp and seaweed to sway to the movement of the waves. So a really beautiful opening, but as I wrote here, long sentence. It is a little bit long and I think it could probably have done with being broken up a little bit. Effervescence gently escaped the distant caves, a gentle reminder of the quiet yet lively ecosystem that inhabited the reef. This is followed by the soft traversing of sea life across the waters, performing silent dances along the waves, causing small hollow echoing hums with their fins that dispersed through the ocean. Now just notice here, this is one of the most common errors in descriptive and narrative writing. The students' tenses are mixing up. So we've begun in past tense, it shone down, it pierced the roof, but then she switches to present tense. This is disperse, right? So be careful, and that is a really easy thing that you can look for when you're proofreading to quickly fix that error, because pretty much every student does it at one point or another. Even when I've written examples, I've done it. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's so easy to switch to present tense sometimes. I think maybe it's when you're wanting to create a sense of immediacy or you're getting excited. And so, you put it in the present. I think that's why people tend to do it. Now, thinking about the writing style, it's very, very beautiful. So anywhere where there's a tick, that is impressive vocab. So cerulean, pierced the roof, blanketed the sand, growing sparse, the kelp, the traversing of sea life, the silent dances. So these are really, really beautiful word choices here. And we've got some nice imagery too. So some of the nice images, if I just switch over my highlighter colour, piercing of the roof, that definitely creates an image in my head. The cerulean sea also creates an image. Radiant neon colours, the dense coral blanketing the sand, that's a lovely image. Seaweed that's swaying, that they're escaping distant caves. The soft traversing of sea life, the silent dances, that matches the swaying, the echoing hum, some auditory imagery there. So she's got loads of nice imagery and it's consistent. It doesn't feel random, it doesn't feel disconnected, and it's creating a similar tone in my head so that I can really effectively picture it. Now, you'll notice in the next paragraph that she does something interesting. My fins. This is the first time, however, that I am realising that this description is narrated from the perspective of a fish. Now, if you're going to do something clever like this, it has to be throughout and it has to be clear. Like, it can't be done confusingly. You have to make it obvious to your examiner, I am a fish. So notice in the first paragraph, there's nothing here that's giving us a clue that there is a fish that's narrating it, or even that there's a narrator, because there's no I. This is the first time that we've got this first person narrative perspective, which, by the way, is completely fine to do in descriptive writing. I don't know what teacher has spread the rumour that you can't write a description in first person or past tense or whatever crazy rules that you guys come to me with, but it's not true. You can have a first person description, of course you can. Anyway, all of this to say she's doing something clever, but it needs to be consistent. So where is the fish? Where is the first person narrator in this first paragraph? So that's going to cause her a problem. But she is still doing something very clever, so let's see how she does it. My fins fluttered lightly as the water swept me upwards, testing the currents as I approached the warmth of the sun rays. As I opened my mouth, the faintest rush of metallic minerals hit my taste buds, telling me of the day's tides. Morning started. Look, she's gone to present tense again. Morning started too slow, and I had to take this time to prepare. So we've got a bit of a tense issue again here. Gliding through the gentle waves, I grazed my scaled underside along the coral and sparse rock, cautiously and meticulously searching for food close to the ground. Carefully, I brushed along the sunken tree logs and began to lightly feed off the thinly growing moss atop of them. So this is nice. We've got some great images and great use of vocabulary once again. And it is very accurate, but we have got a couple of small errors right here, especially with tense. Some of the images that I really like, the sunken tree logs create such a strong image in my mind. And I also really like that because she's a fish, she's kind of describing as the fish would experience the world. So this rush of metallic minerals hitting the taste buds, telling me of the day's tides, that creates such a strong image and it makes me feel like I'm a fish. Like I am experiencing the world as a fish. And I really, really like that. I thought it was very clever. And this sort of thing is the A-star sort of thing, you know, being experimental. And of course, when you experiment, it's not going to go perfectly all the time. You're going to forget your first person in your first paragraph. Don't be afraid of trying things out, especially in your practices with your teachers. You know, try out an idea, see if it works. Because if it does work and you get really good at always writing a description from the perspective of an animal or an inanimate object, that could really impress an examiner if you do it well in the real exam. Abruptly, an interruption in the flow of water had appeared. The current began to coil, sending me into a whirlwind before taking cover under a cave. The kelp shook. The coral threatened to uproot. Though I didn't yet know what had disturbed the water, I knew to be afraid. The schools of fish who once languidly floated through the teal blue then hurriedly rushed away, causing an onslaught of bubbles before immediately scurrying away. Here I've pointed out to her she's kind of repeated this sentence structure of rushed away, scurrying away in the same sentence, which makes it feel a little bit repetitive. Maybe the ocean floor revealed a giant shadow, looming threateningly as it coursed the terrain. There emerged a large shark, slithering predatorially, prowling for its next kill. Silence echoed through the water for ages, the ocean becoming still, and I had to focus very hard to stay completely still. I'm seeing a little bit of repetition again here, still and still. One other thing that stood out to me as I read it out loud was there's a large number of adverbs. So we've got lots of words that are ending ly, which makes it feel, again, a little bit repetitive when I'm reading it out loud. There was more than that. We had languidly, hurriedly. So maybe just watch out for that. Stephen King famously said, "The road to hell is paved with adverbs." Or maybe it wasn't Stephen King. I think I read it in Stephen King's writing memoir. He might have been quoting someone else. Anyway, someone once said, and it was in Stephen King's writing memoir, "The road to hell is paved with adverbs." Try to remove some of your adverbs and think about how you can have punchier and more precise verbs and nouns. I don't subscribe to no adverbs at all, but I do think maybe limiting them sometimes can be useful to help you use better nouns and verbs. Okay, so What's good in this paragraph though? We've got loads of things that are good, of course. So anything that is ticked is some nice vocab. Kelp is precise, such a precise word. Languidly, the onslaught of bubbles. Ooh, I like that image. The terrain, that's a very precise word choice as well. Emerged. The slithering too is a nice image. The silence echoing, this kind of oxymoron, I really like that too. So she's doing lots of really nice things, but I'm just trying to show you how she could have elevated her writing. Now let's have a look at the fourth paragraph. It took ages for the current to finally settle, and by then the sun's rays penetrating the water had turned to a faint orange. So she's missing a word there, it should be had turned, because it's past perfect tense. The dusk glow transformed the reef into a dreamscape of rainbow hues, and as I emerged from my cave cautiously, my metallic purple scales melded with the light of the sunset, flashing a deep copper. I ventured along the coral reef where other fish again were found, bodies synchronized in calculated undulations, communicating without words, searching for a place to retire for the night. Nice. And if you had a look at my other descriptive writing video, you can see that this student is connecting her paragraphs perhaps a bit more smoothly than that student was. So that's something you can look out for. Like it does feel like a smooth description in terms of its structure. Some really nice images and vocab. The bodies synchronized in calculated undulations. Oh, the vocab there, beautiful. Ventured is another nice word too. I love the word dreamscape of rainbow hues. Oh, that's a nice image too. The student is a very, very beautiful writer, I do have to say. So some nice images here and only one minor error. Let's have a look at the last paragraph and see how she wraps it all up. As darkness finally enveloped the waters, bioluminescent creatures appear from hiding. Just notice there, that is another present tense slip. It should be appeared, right? Beginning their nightly trail and illuminating the ocean like fallen stars. Oof, that image. The water ran slightly colder and I found myself missing the light of the dawn. I spot, present tense again, a familiar crevice among the reef and wedged myself where the rock would shelter me throughout the night. My gills slowed their rhythm as I settled down, alert but drifting slowly into the world of sleep. This was my life, my world, a never-ending cycle of day and night, hunting and hiding, a small yet mighty part of the underwater scape. I drifted finally to sleep, ready to begin with tomorrow's dawn. Ooh, that's a really nice final line. Ready to begin with tomorrow's dawn, especially because she's talking about this cycle of day and night, hunting and hiding. It really connects back to that idea. So it's a really nice ending. It's ending on a high point with some really nice images. It's just a shame that she has switched to so much present tense in this final paragraph. I like the imagery of the bioluminescent creatures. The fallen stars I thought was very beautiful too. The rock that's going to shelter the fish narrator. Never-ending cycle of day and night, hunting and hiding. That's lovely. Underwater scape, tomorrow's dawn. Some nice imagery in there. So you can see this is a little bit of a difficult one because the vocabulary is so beautiful and it is very accurate. It's just that it keeps making the same mistake, but the rest of it is accurate. So it's a little bit of a frustrating one at times, I think, here with what to do with it, especially because the sentencing is so complex and well controlled. So that is impressive to me. Okay, so let's talk through what score this student got. So for content and structure, it's a lot more straightforward for me. That I think it is 13 out of 16, which is almost top band. Now, I would have quite happily put this student at 15 or maybe even 16. But the bit that's stopping me from doing that is that narrative perspective isn't consistent. So therefore, I don't think it's carefully managed for deliberate effect consistently, because that opening isn't consistently controlled. She's not showing me who her narrator is. She's not got first person. It's not clear that she's a fish. Sentence that I never thought that I'd have to say. If she had done that, I would happily be putting her in the top band, but it's not consistently deliberate, so I can't do that for that reason. It is clear and easy to understand what she's literally describing. Definitely got a range of imagery, and the imagery is definitely creating a very consistent picture in my mind. It's not random, it's not disconnected, it's not competing with itself, and that imagery is developed. The description is well structured apart from the opening, and I do feel like the description has an emotion or a deeper meaning underneath the surface. This idea of hunting and hiding, tomorrow's dawn, the cyclical nature of life, for me that's a deeper meaning. I would have loved to have seen her have an extended metaphor in there, which I thought she could try, but it's not necessary, it's just a nice thing to do. And her paragraphing is correct and flows and links. Overall, it's usually managed for deliberate effect apart from the opening. So that's why she scored 13 out of 16, which would put her right here. So right at the top of this band. So close, I wrote just the opening. For style and accuracy, she's in the second to top band again. So let me show you where she is. So she's kind of towards the top end of that fifth band. Now, her vocabulary is precise. Definitely. In fact, I'd probably put it up here. Precise, well-chosen vocabulary. And the sentence structures are used for effect. So maybe I was a little bit mean and that could be up here. The register 2 definitely is consistently well chosen. It sounds like a description. It sounds like it's been used very deliberately to create an effect on the reader. The problem is that her spelling, punctuation and grammar is mostly accurate because there are quite a lot of tense issues that come up, although the rest is secure. So that's why it's an occasional minor error. It's not a serious error. I always understand what she's saying. It's just I'm like, oh, tense, oop, tense, but I understand what she's saying. So therefore, her writing is clear and easy to understand. It sounds like a description. She's got a range of sentence structures, but sometimes they do become a little bit overly long, I think. Her punctuation is used widely and for effect, and her vocabulary is simply outstanding. The tense is the big issue right there. So she got 19 out of 24, and that gives her 32 out of 40, which would usually get her that A star. Because the grade boundaries are low, guys. You know that, right? The grade boundaries are low. So Cambridge will knock marks off you. It's inevitable. And it's very, very rare that a student will be getting, 80 out of 80 on the writing paper. But you don't need 80 out of 80 on the writing paper. You need like 60 out of 80. And this student is definitely in that top tier of IGCSE writers. All right, guys, that is everything for today. Please do like and subscribe to this channel because I'll have more videos like this coming out soon. And give me requests in the comments for what you'd like me to see next. I'm looking at First Language English, IGCSE English Literature and some IB stuff. So if you've got requests for any of those subjects, let me know. Don't forget that you can study live with me and get me to mark your work in my masterclasses, my events, and I've also got some courses. So you can find all of that there. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.